Hi guys, I'm Kasha. Welcome to the channel and welcome as always to our coffee times to discuss horror books. And I'm here today to let you know some book recommendations and books that you can grab if you want to participate on the evilathon.
It's coffee time.
So the evilathon, if you don't know, is a 1 month long readathon where we all sit together and we all read some horror books, some thriller books, and we just enjoy horror and we just extend the spooky season. We don't let it end in October. We move it all the way up until the 1st of December, and then we can, I think, all embrace a little bit of Christmas but sprinkle with a little bit of horror. If you missed the announcement video, fear not, because you can just go back and watch it. I'm gonna list it up there and you can see all the challenges. I am going to giving you guys in this video a couple of recommendations, 2 recommendations per challenge, and I try to pick books that are currently on my physical bookshelves because those are books that I have either read and really enjoyed and I do not want to unhold them, or are books that I have not read but I do not want to unhold them because I feel like I'm really gonna enjoy them. So that's, you know, what I went for, to make sure that the things that I was gonna recommend were things that I was happy about, you know, things that I have enjoyed or I think I'm gonna really love. So of course there are so many other recommendations that you can grab. There are many of these prompts that are really specific to you, but I'm here just to give you some options. And now let's enjoy some coffee. So let's check the prompts, shall we? So the first one is Silence of the Lambs, which is to read a fiction or non-fiction book about a killer, serial killer, whatever you want. The options that I have here for you are Chasing the Boogeyman by Richard Chismer, and I chose this one because this is such a unique read and I really enjoyed it. It is kind of like a fiction story, but it's based on a true crime, so there are some things that might be, you know, a little bit closer to reality, but at the end of the day it is a work of fiction. I really enjoyed how the story was told, and I thought this felt really much like a true crime documentary in a lot of ways, and I feel like that really appeals to me because I love to watch true crime documentaries. It is basically your typical, you know, small town evil and investigation. I really enjoyed it and I feel like if you love true crime you will have a good time with it. And my other recommendation is a non-fiction, so you guys have options, and that is I'll Be Gone in the Dark by Michelle McNamara. I love this book so much. It took the author so many years of investigation to put this book together. Sadly, she did pass away before she could finish the book, so it was finished for her with the notes that she had left behind. And there is a section towards the end where they, you know, let you know that those things are kind of recollections of her work. This one is based on the story of the Golden State Killer, which is a true crime story, and I found it so compelling and so interesting. And again, if you love true crime, I feel like you're gonna love this one. But if you're somebody that doesn't like true crime as much as I do, you can probably read any thriller. Most thrillers are about killers, serial killers. There are so many out there, so if you're looking for something that it is completely fiction, that's nothing to do with reality, you can grab one of those. The next prompt was to read a sci-fi horror. It was called Event Horizon. So for these I have chosen the first one because I feel like this is a short read and some people might be interested in it, and that is Night Flyers by George R.R. Martin. It is quite short and this one is the illustrated edition, and also if you like George R.R. Martin's other works you might enjoy this one. This is your typical story in which a crew is kind of trapped in a ship in space, and then there seems to be something evil with them that might try to kill them one by one, so it kind of has that feeling of Event Horizon as well. And the other one that I have chosen is part of a trilogy. It's the first book and I really enjoyed it, and I picked this one because it is YA, so it is not as much horror as other ones, but I felt like this would be perfect for people that want to read YA, and that is Loop by Ben Oliver, and I really enjoyed it because it was a lot darker than I expected. It is a book about, you know, a futuristic scenario in which when kids are being sent to prison. They're being sent to this place called the Loop that it is controlled by artificial intelligence, and it is quite dark. Those kids basically get like experimented on and all of those things, and you actually get rewarded if you let them experiment on you, and it is quite messed up in that sense. And I really love the sense of found family that the book has, as some of the characters are trying to help each other escape this place. I still haven't read book 2 and 3, but I really enjoyed this one. It's also really fast-paced, and it was just overall a good time. Next we have the Blair Witch Project, which is the prompt that tells you that you need to read a book about a myth or a legend or something like that. And one of the recent books that I have read that fits this and I really enjoyed was Horseman by Christina Henry. And this one I really love because obviously it's based on the story of Sleepy Hollow that I absolutely love, and it was again a really different take on the story, a lot darker, a lot bloodier. So we are in Sleepy Hollow, but nobody actually believes that the headless horseman exists. That is until the dead body of a young boy appears in the woods, and the town starts to fear that maybe he actually does exist and he might be back. I also really loved our main character. She is quite brave and she is quite different for being a girl in that time period. And I loved how secure she was about herself and the things that she wanted to be, the things that she wanted to wear. And I just overall really enjoyed the take on the story that Christina Henry had. I feel like with her retellings, she's just so good at turning it into her own and turning it into a real nightmare. And the other one I've probably recommended so many times, but honestly it's one of the best witch books that I have read, and that is Hex by Thomas Oldhovald. I probably butchered that and it's Dutch, but this is a book that I picked up at a convention. I had no idea what it was really about, who was the author. I just saw it was about witches and I'm like, I'm gonna pick that up. And it is based on this town where there is a legend about this very specific witch. It is a 17th century old woman, and the legend says that she has her eyes and her mouth like sewed up so she cannot see, she cannot speak, and it's quite creepy. And honestly this is one of the best like witchy books that I have read, and pretty dark and creepy. The next one is Sixth Sense, and it's to read a book about ghosts that includes ghosts, anything like that. And the first one that I have picked here to recommend you guys, it's a middle grade that is kind of between middle grade and YA, and that is Mine by Delilah S. Dawson. I really enjoyed this one, and it is kind of your classic haunted house scenario. We have a girl who is relocating, the family is moving to Florida, she's not happy about it, and on top of that the house, the new house, is like in really poor condition, it's full of trash, and she doesn't even want to know what happened there before they moved in. And obviously they think the house is empty, but there might be something else living in there with them. So it is your classic kind of ghost story, but I really did enjoy this one. And the other one that I would like to recommend you is a book that I'm currently finishing, and that is Ghost Eaters by Clay McLeod Chapman. And I wanted to recommend you guys this one because it is such a different ghost story. It's just so different from everything else that I have read, so that is also the reason why it might not be for everybody. This is not for people looking for an atmospheric haunted house scenario. It is absolutely not. This one deals with grief, it deals with the existence of, you know, the realm of the dead, ghost sightings and all of that, but in a different level. This is a lot more mature and kind of another reflection on ghosts and what happens after you die, but also deals with grief and with addiction. So, you know, be warned about that. There is a drug addiction in this book, and I just really like how different it is. That's basically how I can pitch this to you. I don't want to spoil too much about it, but I'm really enjoying it. I still haven't finished it. If you're looking for something completely different, if you've enjoyed his other works, this might be one that you want to pick. The next one is The Ring, which is to read a book that's cursed because you've meant to read it and you still haven't read it. Maybe it's been in your TBR pile a couple times, but you still have not read that book. So the first one that I have chosen here, this is super personal to everybody, but I'm just gonna let you know two of those books that for me are books that I really wanted to read and then I never got to them. The first one is I Always Find You by John You know, I just can never pronounce this guy's surname. I'm so sorry. But he wrote Let the Right One In, and after I read that one and it became one of my absolute favorite vampire books, I was so excited to try something else by the author, and I got this book. And then I never read it. It is about this guy that wants to be a magician, and he moves into a new apartment building, and then people, neighbors, everything seems really weird in this place, and there's something that is kind of pulling them to the basement. That is all that I know, but I really want to get to it at some point. And then I have a seasonal book, which is books that you know you only want to read for Halloween, or you only want to read them in Christmas, or you know it's a summer slasher, so you want to wait for summer, but then that time period comes and goes around and you still have not read the book. So the one that I have chosen here is Halloween Party by Ariel Stein. This is a classic. I have not read it, and you know it will be perfect now for Halloween season, so we shall see if I manage. House on Haunted Hill is to read a book about a group of people. They might be friends, they might be strangers, and potentially they go somewhere and something really bad happens. So for these I have chosen two books that I've recently read this year. So the first one is Savage Island by Bryony Pierce. This is a YA, but it's quite intense on the gore. It is about 5 friends that decide to take part in a game. You go to this billionaire's island to play a game, and if you win you get a lot of money. So that's why they want to go. And when they get to the island, they realize that the game is a lot more serious than they expected, and people start getting hurt for real, and they felt like they have been tricked and they don't know how to get out of this place now. And the other one that has kind of like a modern concept and I really enjoyed was Tag, You're Dead by Catherine Foxfield, another YA book. So there is this social media influencer, big guy personality that everybody loves and adores, and he is hosting this kind of game throughout the whole city of London, and if you win then you get to be his assistant and meet him, and everybody's dying, you know, to play the game and win. And we follow different POVs. There's different characters that are playing the game for very different reasons, so we're going to slowly uncover the reason why every single one of these players wants to win. We will also get to discover if they like this influencer or not and why. We will also get to discover more about the influencer's past. So it was like really exciting, and it was like a game throughout the town, and it was just a lot of fun. So if you're looking for something like this, it will be perfect for this prompt, since we have a group of people again that take part in some sort of experiment, or you know they go somewhere and start to get in danger. Then we have Candyman, which is to read a book that has bugs or insects, like something on the cover, and I feel like this is the hardest prompt because there are not too many books with a lot of bugs or things like that, but you can stretch the prompt. You know, if the book name has an insect on it or something, you might just want to count that. Like, just stretch it so that it, you know, it's suitable for you. For this I have chosen So Kill Girls by Claire Legrand. This is again such a good book. It is YA, and this was one of my favorite ones that I have read, that it is a YA horror book. It takes place in Soquel Rock, and it is an island where every year girls disappear, but apparently nobody's asking questions. Nobody seems to care. So this book combines horror and fantasy in such a good way. It's one of my favorites that are combining these two things. We follow a couple of different girls that move into the island, a couple that were already there, and we're kind of going to try to solve that enigma of why girls go missing in this place all the time. And the next one is a book that I have not read yet, but I absolutely loved the concept, and it has bugs, and I was like, maybe somebody like me has it on their shelves and would like to get the chance to read it, and that is Plain Bad Herrings by Emily M. Danforth, and it is about a cursed school for girls, I believe in New England, and it is horror comedy. But I absolutely love this book because, like, if you start looking through it, it has images and everything, and it just looks like it's gonna be so much fun. Look at those insects there. And I bought it super excited, and then I never read it. I don't think I'm gonna have time this October because I cannot read another big chunker and then only read one book for the month of November. So I feel like I'm not gonna be able to read this one, but if you have the time, give it a go. The next prompt is called Audition, and it is to read a book that was recommended to you. So this prompt is obviously super personal to you depending on what you have been recommended. It can also be that you watch someone's video and you got a recommendation that you really loved. It doesn't have to be like somebody like literally texted you and recommended you something. So for that I have here Frozen Charlotte by Alex Bell. Since I love creepy dolls, this book was recommended to me and I really enjoyed it, and I feel like it's also perfect for the winter season. So we have a family that lives in what was before a school for girls, and you know, then it was converted into a family home for them, but there is something that was left behind in the house, and that is some creepy dolls. That's what I can tell you. It was a lot of fun to read this one. It is YA horror. There is a prequel that I still need to grab and read because I really love this one, and I feel like if you love creepy dolls or are interested in reading something about creepy dolls, this one is definitely a good choice. And the other one is Not Even Bones by Rebecca Sheffer. I remember somebody recommended this on their video and I grabbed it immediately, and I do not regret that choice. I think this was a trilogy, but sadly I've only read book 1. I need to grab book 2 and 3 and see what I think of those. But the first book was great. It is about this world in which basically monsters exist and everybody knows about the existence of monsters, and there is a black market that basically traps monsters and sell their body parts, because body parts of monsters have special powers and they can give you those powers. So it's kind of like a really dark horror fantasy, and again, there's not too many horror fantasies out there, or some that I really loved, and this one was one of the ones that I really enjoyed. I Know What You Did Last Summer is again really personal because it's to read a book that nobody would expect you to choose, or a book that is outside of your comfort zone. So I wanted to mention here 2 books that I have read that are not particularly horror. The first one is How I Live Now by Meg Rossov, and it's been a long time since I read this one, so my memory is a little bit vague, but I remember absolutely loving it. I might even reread this because it's not too long, and it is about a 15-year-old girl that has been kind of acting out. So the family decides to send her for a little period of time with her aunt and cousins in England. And when she gets there, she gets to experience war. I believe they are in a war at the moment, and it was quite heartbreaking, but at the same time heartwarming. You know, those kind of books that really hit you on all the feels, all the right spots, and it was so wonderfully written. I definitely recommend it to you also if you love books about grief. And the next one is actually one of my favorite books that I also should probably reread because it's been a long time, and that is The Book of Lost Things by John Connolly. This is about a 12-year-old that has just lost his mom, and he's in a really bad place at the moment, so he decides to just, you know, go to his happy place, which is books, and he starts reading books by himself. And then at some point the fantasy in the books starts to merge with reality, and the danger from the books start to come true in the real world for him. So this was just so wonderful to read. Absolutely love it. And it is a little bit dark because, you know, it's a kid that has lost a parent and he's grieving, and also now he's in danger because things he's reading in the books are coming true. But I really loved it, and if you have never read it, I absolutely recommend you guys to check it out. And the last prompt is just scream to watch a movie, you know, that scares you, a movie that will make you scream. For me, we have been considering rewatching the original Ring because it's been a long time since I've watched that one, and that one always creeps me out, the original Japanese one. So I feel like that's the one that I'm gonna pick for the November readathon, and I'm gonna go ahead and rewatch that one. Alright, you guys, so I hope that you found this video helpful. Let me know down below if you already have your TBR ready. If not, I hope that with these recommendations maybe I helped you to finish putting together that TBR pile for November. Yeah, so thank you guys as always so much for watching and for being so excited about this readathon and for wanting to participate since the moment that I posted about it. I am just so thankful that you guys want to do this with me, and I'll see you all as always in our next coffee time. Bye.